Actions are the same in many ways, how our tongues savor similar foods, but when tongues start to wag, the problem begins. And the tongue of Iran's supreme leader Ayatollah Khamenei is wagging in quick succession, it seems. So much so that he has harped upon Kashmir twice in a week's time. And believe me, it's in bad taste. And before we tell you what Khamenei has said, here's what you should know. India is the second biggest importer of oil from Iran. India did business with Iran despite paralyzing sanctions imposed by the United Nations and the United States. And India and Iran have common interests in the development of the Chabahar port. Of course, the cultural ties and Iranian films finding audience in India and whatnot. But coming back to the Supreme Leader's comments, let's not forget that Iran also has a president in Hassan Rouhani. He has been recently re-elected. He's widely accepted as a moderate voice. But let us tell you this. No president can go against the supreme leader in the state of Iran. And what this means is that Khamenei has the last word. And Iran's supreme leader has spoken, as we told you earlier, twice in a week. He has called upon the Islamic world to support the oppressed people of the world. And he believes that Muslims in Kashmir are facing oppression. He has even declared everyone should openly support Kashmiris. He is sowing the seeds of unrest in the name of Islam, some would say, in Bahrain, Yemen, Myanmar, and now in Kashmir. And many would ask, why is Iran turning its back on India? It's an open secret that Iran is no friend of Israel. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has joined hands with Benjamin Netanyahu to combat terror, and perhaps that is why Tehran is rattled, or some in Tehran certainly are. And with me is Talmiz Ahmad. He is a former Indian ambassador to many countries, one of which is Iran, and knows Saudi Arabia as well, and knows the region very well. Good evening, sir, and good to have you on the show here. My first question to you is, what do you think is the trigger? Is it the visit to Israel? What is...
I don't think it is the visit to Israel. He made the first remark well before the visit. With deep respect to the Supreme Leader, I must say that he is increasingly irrelevant. He is ill. There are expectations that he will be succeeded shortly. There are already discussions in Iran as to who could take his place. He is the spiritual leader of the country. It is a complicated political
but
situation.
He has a lot of say.
He has tremendous political power. He has embarrassed his own president from time to time. Even in the context of the recent presidential elections, he had openly supported an opposition candidate against President Rouhani. So I would suggest with respect that we should not get overly agitated at this point about these remarks. These are the rantings of an old man who is well past his prime. And I think this is not the opinion of the government of Iran. It has not been articulated by the president or by the foreign minister.
But the president has not even said that it is...
There is no way the president in their system can publicly contradict the supreme leader. The supreme leader is the spiritual leader. It's called supreme leader or rahbar. It's a complicated situation. It's a complicated scenario. And we have to respect their political order as it is, but I do not believe that the supreme leader has articulated the views of the government of Iran, which are very clearly pro-India.
So you're saying that India should let it pass and pay no attention?
I agree with that. For example, if you see, he has talked about the Islamic world. The Islamic world, with respect to the supreme leader, is now raged against him and against his country. All the major Islamic countries in the neighborhood are actively hostile to Iran. So which Islamic world is he talking about? Which Islamic issues is he talking about? It just shows how disconnected he is from the rest of the world. He is really somebody I feel sorry for, but I don't believe that we should take it too seriously. These are some of the burdens that you have to carry when you have a complicated political system. See the antics of President Trump. Do you think that many of his actions are presidential? Many of his remarks are